It's actually very refreshing now to be seeing the amount of resources that are available out there. There were not that many resources back in those days within our department or within the community.
This month's local Public Safety Coordinating Council meeting continued the conversation on homelessness in Jackson County. And several people spoke about resources that are available to help people in our community suffering from it. Here are the highlights from October's meeting.
So part two of our Public Safety Coordinating Council focus on homelessness in Jackson County and the nexus it has with law enforcement. Part one was really about those front-end responses and some of the things that are happening, some of the things that are taking place on the Greenway. We talked a little bit about mental health, frontline interactions. We were able to really kind of give an overview of those front-end, this is how we first engage and come into contact with folks. And we wanted to come back and talk about some of the things we do around transitioning folks, around providing support for people, and what that looks like in terms of resources in Jackson County.
Thanks. So I'm Josh Aldrich. I'm the jail commander. Really, this started in the jail in the last couple of years where we recognized that there are portions of the population who are criminally justice involved, and when we get them in the jail, we can help provide the resources that they need, right? And so with the direction of the sheriff, we put together a couple teams, one focusing on those folks who are with us with addiction issues, one with folks who have mental health concerns, and then this last one for the homelessness piece. And so it's kind of a difficult thing, and we'll talk about that as we go on, but really our hope was that we have this time with these people who are affected and maybe need some resources, and how can we coordinate the community to come in to the jail and help people out while they're with us. And so we do that in a couple ways. One, and the most obvious way, is with that population of inmates in our facility, people who we can identify that maybe have need. We find out specifically what the root causes of their problems are, and we have resource providers come in. And then we also really have this opportunity in the lobby of our facility. So a lot of people come and go through our little community there at the jail. And so to be able to provide pamphlets, occasionally we have people in inclement weather situations that'll just kind of come try to hang out in the jail lobby, right? They want to come out. It's open sort of 24 hours a day. And so we have deputies and sergeants that'll go out and actually talk to these people and find out, like, how can we help? Where'd you come from? It's getting a little bit of the backstory. And then really, ideally with that population that's in the facility, it would be great if we could find a way that at the time of their release, we could coordinate with those providers and have a place for them to go. And one of the things that's really been an issue is we don't know when that release is always going to be, right? And then lastly, another thing that we do at the jail, and this kind of started as just something that some of the deputies who had concern began doing years ago, and that was during the inclement weather months, you'd have deputies that go out and buy like warm socks, and they'd bring coats from home. And so, helping these people who don't have a place to go when they get out of the facility with just some appropriate clothing for them. So that's another one of the things that we do here at the jail.
First off, the Transitional Housing Program, I believe, was established around 2006. Currently holds 52 beds between male and female offenders, female clients that we utilize. To date, we have what is tallied as just over 12,500 calendar days of serviced housing within the Transitional Housing Program. Now, that is based off of just over 261 intakes. Some of those intakes have come through multiple times over that calendar year. That's from January of this year to today. That gives us that much opportunity to keep that many people off the Greenway, off the streets, and out from underneath the bridges, and give them a different housing environment to be able to be successful in. It's actually very refreshing now to be seeing the amount of resources that are available out there. There were not that many resources back in those days within our department or within the community. So it's pretty beneficial to see the impact that we can have with this population.
So the Housing Authority was actually established in 1969. We're a quasi-public entity. We are not HUD. That's often a misconception. And we're not the county. However, we are governed by a 7-member board that is appointed by the Jackson County Board of Commissioners. And a very high-level overview of what we do can be broken down into two very big buckets. One is we administer the Housing Choice Voucher Program. That is a federally subsidized program that we administer here at the county level. We have roughly 2,100 vouchers out in the community, and what that means is a tenant receives a voucher, and they go out into the community and they rent a home. That voucher allows them to pay 30% of their income for rent, and the voucher makes up the difference between the market rent and the 30% that they pay with a direct payment to the landlord. The other big bucket that we do is we actually own and manage over 1,500 affordable housing units throughout Jackson County. We don't just do housing. We have two small programs. One is called the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. That's set aside for recipients of that Housing Choice Voucher. We have two case managers that help people receiving rental subsidy eventually work towards self-sufficiency. We're also a multifamily residential housing developer. We're actually the biggest affordable housing developer in Southern Oregon. Generally, we develop between 50 to 100 units every year to serve the clients that we do. We also see a demand for affordable housing in our own programs. That Housing Choice Voucher Program that I talked about, that's kind of the golden ticket. Presently, that wait list is about 4 years, 4,000 to 5,000 households on our wait list at any given time.
So the first program that we're going to talk about today, kind of Jason spoke a little bit about it as well, is the Access ReEntry program. This program helps eliminate barriers for people who have been incarcerated or may have crimes on their record. So helps eliminate barriers to housing through access, and actually helps them go through our rental assistance program as well. And it helps us actually also give other programs as needed.
So for individuals that are coming out of jail and they do have a background and it is a barrier for housing, that is a special program that I'm overseeing and helping them come across get across those barriers to find housing and keep them housed. So from this program, they would actually then see if they would qualify for our rental assistance programs or deposit assistance and possibly even case management. So it's kind of just to see where they're at that point once I talk to them at ReEntry. We also have our veterans that do come over a couple times a week for those citizens. So that's pretty much on the ReEntry program.
Yeah. The next program that we do have is the Bridges program. This is a clean and sober program for independent housing. So Access provides about 1 year of counseling to these families and kind of puts them in the transition to be able to actually get housing.
Coordinated entry is actually a continuum of care, and it's a database that helps with the screenings that we do on the homeless population. And the questions are based to see what the needs of this individual is so that one of the 18 agencies can reach out to them, including Access. Coordinated entry is also a way to find out exactly what that person would need and then the resource to reach out to them.
So kind of talking a little bit affordable housing and rental assistance resources. Rental assistance, this allows us to prevent that barrier of having to put down a deposit on a home and providing some assistance on the rental side of things as well. And in home ownership and related services, certified HUD counseling service. And it just kind of helps educate our clients to be able to get into housing. We have ready to rent programs as well that we do as well.
So Jackson County is actually one of the highest counties in the state for the number of adult foster beds that we have for people who have serious and persistent mental illness. So we have 91 folks in a variety of different foster homes, and that number, the desire to get people into foster homes continues to grow as we cut down on access to state hospital beds. So we are actively recruiting to see if we can grow some additional foster beds for this population so that they can remain in the community. They're all privately owned and operated and licensed by OHA. We are simply the navigator between those two. We go to the homes, we make sure that they're safe, and we report that back to OHA. We also have 2 transitional living homes. We rent them from Access. They're over on Ross Lane. We have 12 people, so 6 people in each home. This is often our bottleneck. We put people over there thinking it's going to be transitional, and then they wait and they wait and they wait for their vouchers. And so it doesn't end up being as transitional as we would like it to be. We have a staff skills trainer who goes over there 2 or 3 times a week to run groups and then is also available to help them stabilize and be able to maintain there. And we also respond to crisis when something happens over there that they need support for. The Kelly House, we actually took this over from Community Justice to really be able to afford some opportunities for folks who are co-occurring, have mental health issues, they're involved with our forensics program, and they are in the early stages of recovery. JCMH, we actually provide about 20 individuals a month, rent and deposit supports. We put people in short motel stays rather than having them be homeless. We wrap around supports around them, and we provide and help with basic living expenses. Then we have another additional 25 individuals that we support as they're being diverted from higher levels of care or stepping out of a higher level of care. We actually get some dollars from the state in our intergovernmental agency agreement to really support those folks, and it's supposed to be transitional and one time, but what that's really become is a rental assistance program for people who are either being diverted from the state hospital or stepping out of the state hospital because there's not enough capacity in housing to be able to move them around or step them down into lower levels of care. So it's still not supposed to be used for strictly rental assistance, but that's really what it's become in this community because of the housing crunch. Other supports that we offer are through the human service grants. So we give some dollars to the Access program for rental assistance with senior disability outreach, trying to fill in the gaps of some of those rental assistance programs for the older population and individuals with disabilities. We give dollars to the Center for Nonprofit Legal Services to really be able to help in landlord-tenant relationships and really trying to make it so elderly folks can stay in their home and be able to get the supports they need to be able to remain in the community. And then we also give money through to the Hope House through Salvation Army, again providing transitional housing to homeless families and individuals. So there are multiple different ways that we support some of the housing efforts in the community. And again, for our population, we really struggle with that the next step from transition because of the lack of housing opportunities for that population.